Hi guys, welcome to Learn Electronics Repair. I have something to review here. This came from FNIRSI, however you want to pronounce that one. And I have looked at their oscilloscope before now. I've also looked at their USB power supply analyzer. I found them both to be very, very good products. So FNIRSI contacted me again, asked me if I wanted to look at more of their products. And this is something a little bit new for them, because normally these guys are making, as I say, things like oscilloscopes and such like. But this is a soldering iron. Okay, this is a soldering iron. So let's see what we have in the box. We have a USB-C cable. We have a USB-C to jack adapter, coaxial power, that's handy I think. We have a little soldering iron stand. We have a charger, USB-C or power supply. And we have some soldering iron tips. And these look just like T12, but shorter, okay? Also in the box is a little bit of sponge to put there into the stand, and we have this. So here is what we have all in all. Now this, in fact, is another soldering iron stand, which we have there. So this is an optional extra in actual fact, comes together with a cleaning sponge. So we have both stands. Let's see. Okay. The soldering iron tips we have B2. I think this probably uses the same sort of codes as the T12. These are effectively T12. BC3, oh my favourite BC3 tip. Yeah, my favourite tip. A knife tip, K65. ILS, this is the one I was using on my KSGR T12 when we did the SMD soldering for beginners. These are exactly the same two tips I used. And this one is a BC2, so the smaller version than the BC3. Let's take a look. These are the tips then, I've just unpacked them. These look like quite a handy selection actually. I mean, of these I would definitely use the BC3, possibly use the knife tip as well, and the BC2. So these are a handy little set of tips, I think. We can keep those in there. The power supply is a 65 watts, so if this can supply 65 watts, this should be quite capable of powering the soldering iron. And let's look at the soldering iron itself. So this is the HS-01, and this is a new product from FNIRSI. Okay, fancy little package. Oh, it opens like a drawer, I think. Oh, look at that. It opens like a drawer. Okay. We have yet another tip in here. So this one is a larger knife tip. They are marked. So this is HS-01KR. And it is larger than the other knife tip we have. That's handy. This is like a cover, I think. I should read the manual, obviously, the little badge. And we have the soldering iron. Okay. Just oh, it is a cover. Locks into place and fixes on. Okay. This is obviously very handy if you're using this out in the field, I would say. Okay. Let's have a quick look at the user manual and then let's try this. Okay, so here is the user manual. portable screen display intelligent electric soldering iron. Small and convenient, easy to carry, I'll go along with that. Temperature control, fast temperature recovery, we'll try it. 9 to 20 volts, OLED screen, USB-C, comfortable grip, we'll find out. Here is the description, so there are just 2 buttons on this. It's saying it can set the voltage from the power supply, default as 20 volt. Okay, so it effectively works best on 20 volts. More than 3.25 amps. Let's see what the power supply is. I mean, that's what they're saying we should need, so what do we have? Oh, that's interesting, because the power supply actually is 2.25 amps. So the power supply says it's a maximum of 45 watts and the power for this is 65 watts. I find there's a lot with soldering irons as you buy them that the power supply doesn't seem able to provide the full power. Let me compare that with the USB-C charger I normally use. So this is my charger, the one I repaired on the previous video. It's taped together. So this one in fact is 20 volts at 3.25 amps, so that matches this specification. So we can try this. This does say 65. Oh, it doesn't say 65 watts, 65 GAN actually. Okay. Let's see if that makes any difference. This is the USB-C cable. Okay. That feels nice. It's a very thick cable. It actually has a nice feel to it. Yeah. I do like that. Yeah. Okay. Into the charger. Into the iron. And how does this feel? Well, we'll put a tip in first. So I'm actually going to go with my favourite, which is a BC3. Let's see. This is a locking ring according to the instructions. Remove the nut, insert the soldering iron tip and lock it again. Okay, so maybe the locking ring goes on the outside of it. Let's see. So push it in. It's in. Yeah. My other soldering iron actually has a kind of like instant, you just push it in to lock. Okay. No locking ring. But for my own personal use, that wouldn't really matter. I very rarely, if ever, change the tip. But I will mention it, yeah, for you guys. If you're changing the tip regularly, we could try it without the locking ring to see how positive is. Yeah, it slips, okay. Whereas this grips. That's probably why we have the locking ring. So whether that's a problem, I think will depend on your use, really. Compared to the one I used, the working distance is slightly longer, but probably not so much so that it would be a problem. This has like a silicone thing here to hold it. This has a little bit of a flatter feel, but I don't think there's enough difference to make it an issue. I like a short working distance. Here we have some instructions on how to set it up. Working state, sleep state, so it has a sleep state. If it's not used for more than the sleep time, which you can set a sleep time on it. Okay. And the rest of the instruction manual basically tells you how to set the soldering iron up. I think really I'll probably leave it all to the default settings apart from the temperature, which I would normally run my soldering iron at 380, so I'm going to put this on the same. And then we can try this and make a comparison. The soldering iron stand I actually quite like, so it fits in nicely. You might notice the bit does touch the internal spring. When it's in, it doesn't sort of sit in the middle. But having said that, my T12 KSGR, which didn't come with a stand. I'm using an old Antex stand with it, and that also touches the spring, but I've been using this for 4 years at least without any problem. I mean, the previous tip I've been using, it lasted for 4 years and still working. Yeah, so that's been fine with this, and I guess it'll be fine with that. What I do quite like is that you can kind of like just throw it into the stand rather than having to place it in some way. When you're on the bench working, that's what you want to do. And we can adjust the angle. In fact, it clicks. Yeah, about right for me. Sponge, I guess, is just a sponge. Okay. So let's actually try this iron and see how well it works. I've connected it to the supplied power supply, the one that I'm not sure will drive this to its full power. We'll switch the power on. And we have the logo, and we have a little picture on here, okay? And it's flashing there, telling me to press this button. Can you see that? I'm sure you can now. Okay, so that's flashing that one. So I guess we should press the button. Oh, here we go. Yep. That's heated up quite well. I'm going to set the temperature, so I actually want to go to 380. That's what I normally use. Let's see how we do that. Yeah, we just hold this button down and now we can change the temperature. And we can increase it. That's really easy to use. Okay. And if we just wait a moment, it is set. Okay, so that is wandering around a little bit. Now I've noticed my other T12 does that, to be quite honest, especially when it has a new bit in. But that's pretty close, I think. I'm not one of these people who really worries too much about the bit temperature, calibrated and such like. But I do notice this iron does have that option. So there is in fact a temperature calibration screen. Maybe for production work, that's something that's useful. But for me, for repair work, I've never needed it. Okay, so nice, clean, shiny bit. This is ready to do some work. Let's unsolder some SMDs and compare this with the KSGR. These are the scrap boards I was using while I was teaching Sarah how to solder, if you saw that video. If not, I think I will link it from this one actually. So one of the things we were doing was just using no flux, just a soldering iron, push it against a component and seeing if we can actually unsolder it. Although this is not the way we would normally do it. So let's try it with this. And let's see. Well, I have to say nothing in particular is happening there. Let me try my T12. It may just be that there's a lot of heavy ground plane in this area. Let's try mine. Yeah, it's the same, so we can say that's basically the same. Let's try it with some flux and solder, because this is what we would normally do. So, a bit of flux. Okay. A bit of solder. Let's see. We'll add some to both ends. Okay. Doesn't want to desolder from one end, but there's probably some heavy planes here. Again, let's try with the KSGR in the same conditions. Obviously it is hot now, so this may actually have an effect, but let's see. No, doesn't want to move. So in the next instance, I would actually just try hitting up both sides at once. So we'll put the board sideways, clean the tip. Melt the solder on both ends, and then let's see what we can do. Yeah, that came off quite easily. Let's try the same with the KSGR on the next one. Again, guys, there may be different amount of power and ground planes here, so we can't always say this is exactly comparative. Let's try. It's coming loose. It's off. Let's find something else. This is another technique I use. I'll do it with my soldering iron first, then we'll try the FNIRSI one. So this is unsoldering a surface mount IC without using hot air. So basically bridge some solder on one end, bridge some solder on the other end. I often do this, I'm salvaging components, I'm just too late to get the hot air sometimes. And literally we just warm all the pins on both sides, and it comes off the board, yeah. And then we can just clean it up. So that's a technique I also use for desoldering SMD ICs. And you can see it's come off nice and clearly once I've just cleaned the pins, okay. Let's try that with this new soldering iron. I'm finding, by the way, that it's best to hold this behind this. If you hold it here, your fingers are likely to slip off. I'm kind of using this as like a ridge to hold against. I just noticed I was doing that sort of like automatically. So flux. Fresh solder. Okay, bit more. These are the pins. Okay, let's see if we can unsolder them. So we just run up and down one side, same on the other side, back to the first side, back to the second side. See if this will come off. Yes. Again, I'll just clean that. Okay. Nice and clean. Try this one. Yep. This one was coming off. Okay. Clean the pins, that one came off easily. And we can do the same thing with some larger ICs as well. Again with my soldering iron. Okay. And there we have it. There's another chip here, basically identical, so let's try that with the FNIRSI. Okay. Yes, I went over the components at the side, but I say I normally use this technique when I'm just salvaging parts off boards if I can't just get my hands onto hot air. Add a little bit more solder, and we'll go again. There we have it. Off. So really, both soldering irons seem to perform pretty much the same. But I would like to try this one on the higher rated power supply. Let's just try something else as well. So I can see the display on the soldering iron, and when it's idle it's using about 10% power. Okay, so I'm just going to put a nice blob of solder onto a heavy ground plane. Okay, so it should be drawing a lot of heat out of the soldering iron. It's now up to about 28-29%, but the solder's staying nice and molten, it's not sticking. So at the sort of 29-30%, it can continually put power into that ground plane. That's okay. Let's try this with the higher rated power supply to see if it actually does make any difference, although I suspect it probably won't. Okay, so I have my power supply, which is the higher rated one. Plug it in, switch it on, it's booting it up, and it's time to press this button to start it. Well, that came up very fast, but it may just be that the bit is hot anyway. I hadn't allowed it to cool down. Let's try this. I have a few more capacitors I can unsolder, but I've just noticed this chip that's half off the board. Let's see if we can remove it. So yeah, straight away. Okay, try this one. This is without flux in actual fact. You know, actually that seems to work quite a lot better, but it's a bit hard to say that you can't be objective with this. Okay. This capacitor is one that we already resoldered when Sarah was here. Let's have a look on the other side. Anything we can see over here? Yeah, we have a few more capacitors here we can unsolder. This again was actually without flux. I will add some for comparison, or rather for a more direct comparison. Okay. See if this will come off. There are some heavy ground planes around here, or power planes. That's not unusual. Yep, came off. I just happened to slide it back on again. Okay. Here. Well, that one's actually proving quite difficult, but I'll just try with the other soldering iron. I'll just give it a moment to cool down. While that's cooling down, let's try another, and then we'll come back at this one with the KSGR, see if there's actually any difference. Yep, that one came off. Now let's go back to the troublesome one with the soldering iron I normally use. And that one is proving, yes, it did come off, but it was proving tricky. Same as it was with the other soldering iron. Okay. So all in all, I would have to say that both these soldering irons have basically the same performance, really. We can have a look online to see how much these soldering irons are to buy. And we can also have a look at this stand, which is the ST90. Here is the HS-01 on AliExpress. €36, that's with EU VAT. I would pay about 30 because I don't pay the VAT. It comes with a number of different options. So this is with the BC2, the iron and the adapter, but this is without the power supply, it looks. Okay, again without the power supply. So this price really is if you already have a suitable power supply. This is the option with the set of tips, the 6 that I have. So that's $55.86. Again, I would save 20% on that. This depends on where you're located, basically, free shipping. This is the same in black, which is the one that I have. They come in 2 colors. We have an option with the power pack. You can see 75. We have, again, the other color. And this is the full set. So you can see the price of the item. If I have any discount codes, I will put them into the video description. The stand, the ST90, is here. So this is the stand, €14.57, just a little bit of postage. This I really like, actually. I think this works really, really well. We can see that over 1,000 of these have sold, although we're not sure which option people are buying. It has 5 stars. Let's have a look at some of the reviews as well on this. Okay, so very happy. People seem to be very happy with this soldering iron. Somebody mentioned they use a 200 watt PD supply. Okay. So all in all, people seem to be very happy who have bought this product. I'm just flicking through to see if I can find any negative reviews. Well, there's a 4-star. We can look at those, I guess. The crumpled stepfather came. Okay. Okay, I'm saying nothing about that. Although they have apologised for the damage to the packaging in transit. And somebody says the motion sensor isn't working. We have 1 negative review, so we really should have a look. It already no longer works. So I assume this person saying it stopped working after 3 days. And FNIRSI are actually saying, please contact us, and the guy is now saying, after very professional contact with the seller, everything works perfectly. And he would make it 5 stars if he could. So really, that is, to me, actually a very positive thing. If people have posted a review, they very quickly get the problem resolved, then I think it's only good that they actually reply and say so. And one arrived just in a plastic bag. Okay, mine certainly didn't. I can't really comment on that. Okay guys, so I have to sum this one up, I guess. I can't find anything wrong with this. Yeah, it's comfortable to hold, it works as well as my KSGR does. If anything, I would say my KSGR has a slightly narrow handle, which I'm a little bit more comfortable with holding, but this is not the standard handle that comes with it. These are a premium handle. You pay extra, maybe €20 or €15 for these. And a lot of this comes down to familiarity. You know, when you're used to using something for a long time, you become very familiar with the way that it fits in your hand. But having said that, this one is also very comfortable. I am holding it behind this little ring. It has little like knobbles on it, but I'm finding it comfortable to hold here. I find the working distance good. This one I will keep, probably put it on my spare workbench, but to be quite honest, this is like a metal cover, it's not plastic, it's like anodized. That's also very nice if you're working on site. So, as with many products, horses for courses, it's as good as any other you could buy, and it does have little features like the cover. I've not seen that on any other soldering irons. I'm sure it does exist. If that is useful to you, I think it's well worth having. I won't review the little stand because I've reviewed these on previous soldering irons. They're not very good, to be quite honest. I don't like them. The iron effectively takes up too much space on my desk. But this stand, yeah, I like that. The soldering iron also works well on the supplied power supply, although I do question whether this is capable of running it to its full power. But having said that, when I put it onto my higher powered supply, it didn't seem to make any particular difference to the use. But if you already have a high powered PD USB power supply, USB-C, then you can buy one of these without the included power supply and save some money. Another thing I like with this iron is the availability of different options, different tips, different power supplies. This stand, which is a separate, but I think is well worth buying if you have one. And that's refreshing because a lot of the similar products don't seem to come as they are out of the box or when you order with these different options. So extra marks for that one too. So there you have it guys, the FNIRSI HS-01 and the ST90 stand. If this is something you're interested in, I can say it definitely does what it says on the tin. And if you have something similar, let us know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed that one then, and I hope to see you all soon on another Learn Electronics Repair video. Ciao for now guys.